We're missing Miss
Sure,
Livingston.
one moment.
Okay.
We're missing Miss Livingston.
Yeah, I'm just going to make sure that we start to show the agenda for everybody, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. Mhm.
She sent an email saying she would, she had an issue come up at work and she would join as she can.
Right, that's what I remember seeing. Yes.
Who
So-
is that? Sojourner or Miss Livingston?
Miss Livingston, Miss Sojourner's on already.
Oh, cool.
So what we'll do is I'm gonna once we get the agenda up, what we'll do is we'll do a brief roll call and we'll make sure everybody knows who's here, and then we can and we're also recording the meeting because it's so that we can then put this up on the website so that everybody is aware we are recording the meeting.
Excuse me, town administrator. Was this supposed to be a public meeting? Did it go out to the public?
It did. It was posted on our website. It wasn't posted
Oh.
until today, so we did put that.
Oh,
Because I didn't realize that Mr. Charnovich had not posted it, so I apologize in advance regarding that, but as soon as it was brought to my attention, we did post it. And we will share a recording of this on the town website as well. Mr. Charnovich sent it out several days in advance and it's posted at town hall, but was not posted on our website until today.
We may, just depending on how this goes, we may need to go into closed session to hear from me at different times. Don't know, but.
Okay. So we'll stop recording at the periods of time when we are going into closed session. That would be the case, correct, Miss Attorney Ferguson? That would be the case in that one. Okay. You know what? I'll start with. Why don't I just? We're trying to get the agenda. Let me see if I can open it up and put it up on the screen. Hold on, real quick. Okay, let me see if I can share that real quick. So are you sharing this, Monty, or am I sharing it? I'm trying to share it to make sure.
That is you.
Okay, perfect. Can everybody see my screen, or is it sharing?
I can see your screen, but I also
Okay.
have my own copy of the agenda.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to see if I wanted to let the chair know so that if the chair, if we can, call the meeting to order. I'd like to ask the chair to call the meeting to order, and then we can do then staff can also do a roll call for you.
Okay, today is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. I'd like to call the meeting to order.
We're starting at 3:35 p.m. So I'd like to all the commissioners to respond by saying aye. Ms. Williams,
Aye.
Ms. Sojourner,
Aye.
Saunders,
Aye.
Lundy.
aye.
I believe we mentioned that we are missing. Is that all? That's where all the members are present. Staff present today is myself, Ms. Camarino and Mr. Jeffries are online, as well as our attorney, Sue Ellen Ferguson. So those are all the people that are on the meeting as at this time. Chair, I'll turn it back to you in regards to the election recap, or if you'd like staff to give a recap, we can.
Thank you so much, Michelle, for the meeting recap of the 2023 election recap. For the attachments that were sent, it doesn't say recap,
Yeah.
but it says timeline. I don't know if he meant to call it a timeline or if he meant to label it as a recap. Do you know, Michelle?
I believe he's trying to give I think that Mr. Charnovich wanted to give a timeline of the overall election process. And if you'd like, I can make that presentation on his behalf. I just wanted to, I know that from the standpoint of the recap is that from the standpoint of the council, they charged the board to meet again to talk about some of the comments that were received at our last council meeting, which was on October, I believe, gosh, the time has gotten away from me, October 13th, I believe, or October, I'm trying to remember what the October date was, but on the October 9th, that in regards to the election and some of the comments we got from the citizens, and this meeting was to, make sure that we followed up on some of those issues, and also that the town provided an overview or a timeline. I can stop sharing the agenda and share Mr. Charnovich's election timeline if that helps.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. So what I'll do is I'm stopping sharing that, and then I'm going to now share the timeline real quick. Windows. I'm hoping that everyone can see Mr. Charnovich's timeline. So in the timeline that was provided by Mr. Charnovich, which was emailed to the board, it starts with on Thursday, July 6, 2023, the applications were ready and mailed, and materials were provided to the candidates. On the 18th at 5 p.m., the deadline to submit candidacy was enforced 45 days before the election, which is per the charter. On the 18th, that same day, absentee ballots became available. There was an application that was made available to the public. On Wednesday, the 23rd, the Board of Supervisors met for the first time. The candidates were not certified at this meeting. On Wednesday, September 6th, the Board of Supervisors met a second time. Candidates were certified at this meeting. On Thursday, September 7th, ballot information for the draft ballot were sent to the election and voting machine vendor. On the 7th, the candidate bios were also due to the town so that we could put them on our website and publicize them. On September 14th, the draft ballot was emailed to Mr. Charnovich for review. On the 15th, he sent a question to the vendor about the ballot count to be printed. That was the day the employee appreciation, well, that was a day that we were out of the office, and he was not in contact. He was then in contact with the vendor that next Monday morning, which is September the 18th, which is what he said. And he said that ballots were approved and sent to the printer on that date. On Thursday, the 21st, absentee ballots were taken to the post office. And then on September 25th, applications for absentee ballots were due. And then on October 2nd, the town held its election. So that's his timeline, or his timeline of the events of the election, which was submitted to the board for review.
All right, thank you very much for going through that for us. And I think now next on the agenda would be the discussion regarding future election policies and procedures for improvement. And I believe there is a draft that was attached, and it's entitled Town of Bladensburg Election Guide, dated October 2025.
Yes, uh, the Chair, Williams, the staff put together something that we thought might be helpful moving forward. Mr. Charnovich, actually, we researched and found a similar guide that is given out in College Park. We tried to adapt and find things that were similar. Of course, with the approval of Attorney Ferguson, this is just a draft document that we would be getting our town attorney to take a look at. But the concept is from the clarity for our candidates moving forward, what our process is, what our timelines are, and putting out those timelines in advance to everyone so that the Board of Elections is better prepared, so that staff is better prepared in regards to this information. So that's what the attachment is.
Okay.
Ms.
I
Williams,
did-
I believe Ms. Lundy is raising her hand. I just wanted to let you know that because I don't know if it's
Okay.
visible.
Yes, Ms. Lundy, your comments or question?
Yes. So I did see that well, good evening, everyone. Well, I'm sorry, it's not 6 o'clock. Good afternoon, everyone. So I did appreciate receiving that document. However, I wanted to ask for a time when the board members can submit our comments and recommendations, because I didn't see much given to, and perhaps we have another meeting to process flow. And I wanted to see a little bit more as it relates to policy and procedures regarding elections and voting, because I think that's necessary too. So, and I also looked at College Park, and I also looked at another similar municipality as well. So when can the board have an opportunity to convene so we can, you know, come together and discuss some edits or what have you, some additions that we might want to add to this draft before it's approved, since it's our responsibility to run the election?
Yes,
What
I
is-
agree. Go right ahead.
Ms. Williams, did you want me to answer that or to say anything? I think from the standpoint of staff, we wanted to put together some thoughts on maybe some processes, how we inform candidates better. That's not to replace the overall process. There are portions of this that have, staff implications, and I think that Ms. Lundy is correct that there probably needs to be some more there might be another meeting that we would have in regards to how to improve things. But I also think that we do have a lot of things in place that I think were not necessarily followed to the T in this particular election. And I think that we can work on our internal processes, but we can also share those with the board and have another meeting where you can do that. But I think your comments are welcome. And if you'd like to submit those comments directly, you can to myself and to staff, and we can then make those and then, and seek the assistance of our attorney in regard to those comments. And then we can have another meeting where we would go through it. And Sue Ellen, I'm sorry, I'll let you speak.
The information that's coming in from College Park is the information that they give to candidates, which is just one area that I think you all were going to look at. It's good to be really clear and have a manual to give to candidates and have easy access to forms that they have to file and make things clear. The examples they give about what's okay and not okay to give out, say at a candidate event and things like that, were thought about and talked about a lot. And I was part of those conversations. And so, and they're kind of the kinds of things that come up a lot when somebody's running for office, and especially if they haven't done it before, they're not sure how far they can go. So that's really what you see here is very useful thing for candidates. What isn't here yet, which is I think the other thing that you want to talk about, is internal procedures for the election supervisors for themselves. And that would not be something that would be online for College Park. It's not generally available. It's the internal procedures, and I know they do have those also because I helped work on those too, and they do have them. They've had a pretty active election supervisors and clerk combination for a number of years now, and they've been really working on this. So they're a good place to start for that too. And they also, as you do, they have, reporting requirements. So that's very important for candidates too. And that lays this out a lot better than what was available before. So this part is really important for candidates to give them bright lines to follow. The other piece that you'll need to talk about, I think, after what happened this last time is your internal procedures. Both of these, take some real talking too.
So I believe that what we can do is we can make a request, Ms. Lindsay, and get that information so that the board can have a future meeting so that we can provide that to the board. But I know that your hand is raised.
Yes, so that's good. That's very good. It was only one really component. Someone's it's a lot of feedback. Oh gosh. Miss Williams. Miss Williams, can you mute your phone?
I'm on my laptop. I'm not.
Oh, at the top it says mute mic. There you go. Okay, so it's very important. I really appreciate having this part for the candidates. I know we had some discrepancies about campaigning and everything good like that. That's good. So I just want to get the timeline because I don't want us just to focus on the candidate part. We need to like we've already said and agreed, focus on internal procedures as already outlined in the charter, and as well as the election process and the voting process, because and some internal things that we do with regard to that. So I would just like to get a timeline, town administrator, of when we could look at that. And also I would like to put on the table a regular meeting time for the board members. So in cases like this, as if we are looking at procedures and everything, sporadically or as we're going or what have you, because we have another election coming up in 2 years, in 2025. I would like to have us to have a regular meeting time, and that's something that the board we can discuss and see when we are all available to do something virtual or in person. So we can have our own meeting. We need to have our meetings, and we welcome whoever the clerk, Mr. Charnovitz can come, or yourself. There's no problem with that. But we need to be able to meet ourselves so we can talk about, some recommendations for improvement on the election process and the voting process, as well as with relates to the the candidates as well. I know College Park has a good benchmark, and the attorney is familiar with them, but there are other municipalities also that I've looked at that have good working documents as well. So that's what I would like to say. So I just want to get a timeline. Thank you.
Like you to answer, Ms. Ferguson, or do you have something to say first?
I do have something to follow up with. And the timelines that have been followed in the past really were not compatible with what a lot of people are doing now, which is sending out a lot more ballots and absentee ballots. The state now calls them mail-in ballots, and expect us to start calling them that also. And they have a list of people who sign up for mail-in ballots. And what some places like College Park have done is if you signed up for the state list, they will also include you on their list of people who automatically get a mail-in ballot, which is a good idea for people who want to receive their ballots that way. But College Park just extended their timelines considerably to accommodate the additional amount of time it takes to mail things. And they also made drop boxes much more available, because a lot of times when people do get their ballot and that they want to send back, they don't want to send it. They want to drop it off. And so especially if you're not having early voting days, it makes it a lot more convenient for people just to get it mailed to them, or you can come and pick it up. and then they can put it in the Dropbox and it's done for them, and they don't have to rely on the mail system. So all of those things are things that I would suggest, that you look at, and if in fact it would be a recommendation you would make to the council, that any code changes or charter changes that are needed to do those things. I don't know if you all are interested in also talking about having mail-in as an automatic thing or not. But if you're not, and you just want to stick with, a polling day, then it's a good idea to extend your timelines to accommodate for people who want to mail in and drop off to the Dropbox too. So those are all things to think about. I haven't looked at your code to see what changes would be required for that. But once you want to make that a recommendation, then that would be something that would be part of the report to the council if it requires action.
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
believe-
town administrator. No,
I
I wasn't
believe it-
talking about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I
know you
wasn't
weren't.
talking
That's
about
what I
that.
was gonna say. Ms. Lundy, I believe that you meant like, what are the timelines in which staff or which the board is going to meet and the process timeline? Is that what you're asking about?
To get that,
And
right, to get our recommendations. That's what I was talking about. I understand all that other stuff that Ms. Wells was talking about. But that's one reason why I want to have a regular meeting, because we need to talk about those things that the town attorney just mentioned. But yeah, you're right on point, Ms. Michelle. That's what I was talking about.
So I was going to say, Ms. Lundy, I think from the standpoint of staffing and time, we are fine with maybe setting up some meetings and putting together a couple of meetings where we kind of explore, it would be better if staff sought some of this research, which is we have put some things on MML before on the listserv to get other people's internal policies. What we can do is that we'll need some time to get that, and we can put out a request to get that and then meet with the board over the next couple months to get that done. I mean, I think the issue is that I understand that residents would like some resolution or like to know that we're working on things, but I don't think this is a process I would say that I would rush to say I will get this done in a month or 2 months. Because I think there's some research that we really probably need to do in regards. And then Ms. Ferguson brought up a really good point, is that if there are some changes in the way that municipalities are handling elections and changing the terminology of mail-in ballots, and since we found that to be a challenge that would require some additional changes, I think a more holistic approach would be, so we have time to do this with you. And I think you were on point by saying, how does the Board of Elections, how available do you want to be and your timelines of meeting with us? Because we can put together some timelines to say for the next meeting, here are some internal policies that we looked at. These are ones that, as far as and to give you time to put things together. I think those are issues that we can, so that we can kind of have a communicative relationship on this, so we can, we are here to help and to put together some staff work. And I think you should be able to use us to do that. Mr. Charnovich is leaving the town in the next couple of weeks, next week. But there will be staff here, and we can get information, and we can definitely set up another meeting, either by late November or early December, again, to at least to give the board an update if that is a timeline that you're willing to meet, and we can provide information to you. That's, if you want to know a realistic timeline for my deadline, myself, it would be later this month or early next month to meet and and then talk about the internal policy and then kind of set things out. Does that make sense to you all as a committee or as a group?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me. Yes, Carletta speaking.
Ms. Williams, I think you have your hand up. Sorry. Ms. Williams, I think you're on mute. Do you want us to try to unmute you? I can't unmute you. I tried.
Okay, how
Oh,
is
there you
that?
are. Yes, I
Okay.
can hear you now.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. I agree. We do need to map out some things and look at different options that we may, will help us. because there are a lot of the things that need to be addressed. I would also like to say that I think it would be a good idea if the town Board of Election Supervisors create their own manual, a list of the do's and the don'ts. And I think it's also important that we compare those with what we will think. Another suggestion along those lines would be if the other members of the Board of Election Supervisors could make a list of important items that they would like to see changes or clarification. And then we can compile those together at maybe our next meeting and hash over it and see what works, what won't work. I think that's a very good idea, but this would not be open or available to the public like the charter is. This would be strictly a manual for the Board of Supervisors of Elections, no matter who comes on board. So that's my suggestion, and I think we should do that to get started.
So is there any other, I mean, I guess the chair, I mean, is there any other comments? Because if those are your directions, we can set up some meetings accordingly from the standpoint, because right now we would be in general discussions, I guess, board member general discussions, and then scheduling the next meeting. I think those are the two other things on the agenda. I just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Michelle. This is
Rudolph?
Judy Sojourner. I have a question. I'm sorry, that's my phone. It is not ringing. I'd like to know, I'm sorry. I'd like to know how long does it take any changes to the town's rules and regulations to be changed? Because I think we need, since we have an election coming up in 2025, we need to know the timeline that it takes to have changes approved, because we can't schedule meetings and end up having meetings during the first 6 months of 2024 when we need to use that time to put materials together to hand out so we can have them in a timely manner, hopefully, for the next election. Because in going through Richard's timeline, we need to move the beginning of the election process, in my opinion, either 60 or 90 days out, in order so that everything is done in a timely manner. But I just trying to assess how long does it take to get things approved? Is it just through our council, or does it have to go through the county, or what? That's my question.
I'll let you dwell on that. I think you can answer too, but I think I can answer, but I'll let you answer first.
Okay, if it requires an ordinance change, that would be, the ordinance has to go through that process, and generally going to be, that would take an initial reading and a second reading, and then it's 20 days after it's adopted that it goes into effect. The initial reading and the second reading can be fairly close together, even like within a week. A charter amendment, if it takes a charter amendment, that's a much longer time frame. It takes 50 days, 50 days, for a charter amendment to become effective. And you cannot adopt a charter amendment without giving at least 21 days prior public notice before you take it up. So that's a much longer process. And then for internal rules, it would just be a motion by the council, which can be done, without any delays. So it just depends on the level of change that you need. And that's why I was thinking that talking about coming up with the idea about how you're going to do the election, what kind of election you want to suggest would be the first thing to talk about, so that anything that requires legislative action can get done first. That's all.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, that you have your hand up. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that.
Did you want to say something first, Town Administrator?
Well, the only thing I was just going to say is that when I'm looking at Mr. Charnovich's outline, these are the timelines that he acted on some of the things, and they're not necessarily the timelines that are that I mean that are they're not necessarily the coded timelines. Like having applications ready and there's a deadline, but could we have them ready earlier? Can we have packets? Can we set internal processes and things like that, which some of them may require changes to our code and charter, some may not. They are just we have there are certain things by the deadlines which I think we need to look at. But I think, I believe I agree with our Attorney Ferguson on this issue of if there are some major things like changing things to mail-in ballots, changing terminology like that. Those are things that we probably need to work on. But can we work on some internal policies and the charter and code charter things at the same time, or provide you with some of that information? We can. But I think that we do need to focus on if there are any changes that the Board of Supervisors is making that would make a significant change to the mail-in timing, and then allowing the council to have input on that as well, as to give them time to understand what the Board of Supervisors is we're suggesting. I think those things. But Ms. Sojourner, when you're mentioning this, we do have the year. So if we did make, let's say, a deadline of having things done by the summer of 24, or even the fall of 24, you would have plenty of time legislatively to get that done. You would have time to get that done before the new election would start, even if everything was codified by January of 2025, because it would give the staff at least 6 months to get everything in process.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to go now? Oh, okay. I was waiting. Thank you so much. So I agree with what you were saying, Town Administrator. One of the things I noticed during this process is that perhaps the former town clerk was going with the 2021 dates. And so what I would like to see going forward is I appreciate allowing staff to do their work and everything, but we need some checks and balances and training within the town itself, as well as training for the Supervisory Board of Election people, not just on the machine, but on our internal processes. Because it was very disappointing that we had ballot boxes, but we didn't use them. And shouldn't have to have been something that the Board of Supervisors would have asked for. Because it's in our charter about what is expected of the town to provide residents as it relates to elections and voting. So I wanted to ask, and I think I got the answer already. I don't believe we have to have charter or code changes, but like Chair Williams was saying, if we put some kind of manual in place that discusses our processes and flows as it relates to elections and votings, I think that would be a great partner to our charter and code. We just got to do a better job of making sure that nothing impedes our elections, because quite frankly, it was very hurtful, and I was very disappointed at some of the comments that we received from our residents. Some things I don't understand, and one of the things that really challenged me, we had one of our residents to say that they received their application to request a ballot to their address, but then they did not receive the actual ballot that went to a neighbor's home. And we don't know why that happened, but I guess I don't know why that happened either. So whatever we can do to make sure that the addresses are matching for the same resident, that would be good as well. So anyway, so I just look forward to us getting together so we can map out, when I say us getting together, working with the town, but the board members getting together to really hash out a lot of these internal rules and procedures after we get something in draft form from your office, town administrator. So thank you all so much. Thank you for y'all help and everything. I appreciate it.
Michelle, if I could chime in, we did have ballot boxes that we kept in Richard's office. We just didn't have them like out of the building for people to be able to drop off their ballot personally. They would just hand the ballot to us. Same day with the day of the election.
Okay, I believe Ms. Saunders, you have your hand raised.
Yes, thank you. I think that also one of my concerns is just about the actual physical ballot and the stapling of the two pieces together. I do think that that's something that we need to look at very carefully. There's just the very likely event that the more people handling these ballots or the more they're being shuffled around, they're going to become apart. And then once they're moved apart, you don't know which affidavit goes with the ballot. So I do think it's important that we look at that physical, a larger envelope with the smaller envelope inside would solve the concern, because then once it was opened, you would be able to see both the affidavit and the ballot together. So I do think that that's something that will take pre-planning and ordering, however that's designed. But I also think it will be easier for the residents to kind of, manhandle it. Because the more you staple something and then you try to move it around, or you're stapling it through it and then it's ripping, I just didn't find that practical. And then I also do agree about the ballot boxes. I look forward to working with the committee on some of the internal procedures that, we can follow. So just thank you for that.
I just wanted to notice that I think that this is really helpful for staff, because I know that we are going to look at the printing process and how we put together the mail-in or absentee ballots. And we do hear you on a lockbox. And with all this stuff evolving, I think the one thing that we've learned in the pandemic is that that we do have these mail-in, that we have more of this mail-in ballot, and that we have that most of the municipalities have block boxes. We will research how we can get a lockbox that can be, because I'm thinking now those probably will be rented, or we'll be able to get one or purchase one, a secure lockbox for the town, so that we will not be using the ballot boxes we have, which are they're glass and they're rather old, but we can have something that can be outside, that people can feel secure, that cannot be moved, and that's affixed to the ground, which I've seen in other entities. So we will research that, and we will be able to bring that to the town council and to the board of supervisors as well, so that expense can be figured into the 2025 elections. I don't think that's something that's unreasonable. Ms. Lundy, I saw that you have your hand.
Yes. Also, I know we've already done the budget we've already done the budget, right? Correct? For the elections, we need to revisit that. I don't know if it's an amendment. I mean, I do know, but I'm just trying to let you all chime in. But we need to relook at that, because we may need to really map out things like budget for materials and whatever, compensation, line item by line. Just don't be like, just whatever, because that's not clearly articulated anywhere as far as the compensation is concerned. And then it's also the line item per line item. What does the budget cover with respect to elections and voting in this town? So I would like for the request town administrator that you would look into, budget items for the Board of Elections.
We are redoing and looking at our budget process in general as we're moving forward for fiscal 25 and 26. This will be part of the fiscal 26 budget. But we may make some investments in fiscal year 25, as far as perhaps looking at purchasing a lockbox in 25 so that it can be ready. Because our fiscal years are different. I'm sorry, just to kind of give everybody else fiscal years. Right now, we're in fiscal year 24. Next year is fiscal 25. The election will occur technically in fiscal year 26. So some of the compensation issues will be dealt with in the 26 budget, but we will make sure that that is clearer for the public and for the Board of Elections. I know that that the compensation was also something that we need to make sure checks will be going out to the board for compensation. My understanding is that it was $300 for the Board of Election Supervisors, and that the people working on the day of election had a different amount. But that is what we have so far budgeted, and we can, but I'm trying to make sure that we've got that straightened out so that everybody will be getting either their compensation by mail, or they can let us know if they'd like to pick them up, but we will have the checks produced by the end of the week for that, because we usually do our disbursements at the end of each week.
And also, as a follow-up to that, would it be too much to ask that as you're working on the budget for the Board of Elections, that you would share that with the Board of Supervisors so we can see what those line items are? I would think that you would do that, you know, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
We can definitely do that as part of because if we're going to be working collaboratively with you all, you'll help us to inform some of this. I think that you know, depending on what the Board of Supervisors recommends to the council, if there's a cost related to, you know, the mail-in ballots or making any of these changes, we will definitely have to put that together, and we will bring that to both the Board of Election Supervisors as part of your process, and also to the town council as part of their budget process.
Yes, and also town administrator. We also want to look at security as well. Yeah, and you're aware of what happened on that day and on the day of elections, and regarding our town clerk. And we had families in there, children were in there, board members were in there, and I know we're covered under the insurance as being in the building, all that kind of stuff like that, I believe. But we need to, excuse me, look at that as well, because, you know, things happen and we just have to be ready in case things happen, because I know it was very interesting what was happening, what was going down, and it was, quite frankly, it was frightening. And especially children were right in the middle of it. So
we did have three police officers, not, you know, not, I wouldn't say undercover, but not in uniform officers on site. And as I understand, they did react fairly quickly. And we also had officers in the area in regards to for the elected, because we did anticipate that there might be some issues. So we always do have security on site. There's only so much that we can do, but we are aware of that issue, and we are trying to make sure that in the future that we do provide, you know, more safety, but at the same time, it is a public process. And so there's a balance, right? You can't have, you know, you don't want to have armed security in a election, because that also has a stigma to people from the standpoint that they feel like they're being watched by people. So we have to have a delicate balance. And so I just wanted to kind of state that as well. But we did prepare for that, and we did have 3 officers that were not in their normal uniform there, and I believe that they did respond very quickly. But I do know what you're saying, and I understand the concern.
Yeah, they did respond. They did respond very quickly, and they were very, very patient. Just wanted to make sure, if you have, even if it's someone who is not in uniform, just, you know, because I know where they were, but, you know, I don't know, we can't have somebody inside the building, I mean, inside the area, but you said no, because it's sensitive, you gotta be delicate, so people don't feel like they're being watched or what have you. But yeah, the officers did respond quickly. I just wanted to make sure that we can, you know, that we consider, I don't know if we need to do something with the budget with respect to that or not, but, you know, just wanted to put that out there. Plain clothes officers inside or what have you. Thank you.
Sons, I believe that you have your hand up.
Yes, I did. Thank you. I agree, definitely. Thank you, Board Member Lundy, for making that point. And I think that they definitely did respond very quickly. For me, what would have been helpful is to just know where they were. So if I was the one who was told, go get help, I would not have known where to go. So if we just point that clear, and I do understand the perception of having somebody armed. Yes, you're right. You don't want to do anything that makes someone think coming in there is going to cause them problems. We just want to be able to know where to go to get them.
You can definitely communicate that better to the Board of Elections, and that also can be part of the information that we provide to staff and to anybody staffing there, that they know where those officers are. And we can also make sure that we can, that is taken care of. So we can do that. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback.
Also, another thing, town administrator, that you may not be aware of, because we did see you coming in and out, so that was good. We knew you were there doing your lunch and everything, and you were checking on processes, so I really appreciate your presence. We also want to be mindful when we're dealing with our, any of us, the board of supervisors or our volunteers, make sure everybody gets training on decorum and etiquette as well, when it comes to the elections and things like that as well. It's something to think about.
I think training is a big piece. I think it's been mentioned a couple of times, and we have that in our notes. So what we can do is, how about we distill down, I just want to make sure that I'm distilling down the notes of things that we're following up on. I believe from the standpoint of the fact that we would, as staff, come back with some checking in with some other municipalities, providing some internal procedures. Also, we would value your comments on what we've already sent. If you'd like to send those to our office, we can have them share that with everybody if there are some initial comments on what we've already sent. We could also then, I believe that Attorney Ferguson has also given us some things to think about as other topics. So what we can do is we can share those topics with this group and see how you'd like to deal with the issue of mail-in ballots, and do some research to let you know like what that change that she mentioned would mean, and where that could be implemented. And then what we would also do is that, to go back to your other issue about timeline, is to check in with the group now with the Board of Supervisors of Elections to find out what days work best for you and times that work best for you, so that if we can meet again later this month or early in December, what are those dates, so that we can set that up, and so that we can then provide you with the information that you've requested.
All right, thank you so much. And someone will be sending out the minutes or what have you from this meeting, so as a follow-up.
We will have some notes written for this. It'll probably take us a couple days, because we're in the midst of a couple things, but we will get
that's understood.
notes written for you all to send out. But the part of those notes will also be a follow-up in regards to dates for the next meeting, if there aren't any ideas right now.
Thank you, that's understood. Thank you.
I believe that then that's everything on the agenda. Chair Williams, is there any other items that you would like to add to the any other items that we might have missed? I just want to check in.
No, I don't have anything. I recall that I had given Mr. Charnovich a short list of my concerns, which I've already mentioned in this meeting. I guess you could add that to and compile that with the rest of the comments that you may be receiving from the other election supervisors.
And Ms. Williams, if we don't have them, I will check in with Mr. Charnovich on Monday when he returns to the office. But if there is anything, please feel free. I'll give you my email so that you can email me those, and any of the members that you now have my email, that you guys can email me any of the concerns or issues that you would like us to look at, and we will do that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, I don't think there's anything else on the agenda. Chair, do you feel comfortable with this meeting, and that we've met all the requirements of the meeting? Staff will send out an email with the notes from today, and then also a inquiry on when a good meeting time or date is for the next meeting. Does that make sense for everyone on the online?
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So then we will then adjourn the meeting. It's 4:20 p.m. Miss Attorney Ferguson, is there anything else that I've missed or that you would like to add before we adjourn?
Nope.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for being online today. This will be posted, and we will put the information that we provided to the group. We will put this online. Have a great day.
You
Thanks
too.
again.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Mhm.
you.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a good
Bye.
evening.
Yeah. You too.
Bye.